Welcome to this course. Now, in this course, as we discussed, we're going to talk about how we do architectural modeling, interior and exterior, specifically medieval model. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we model medieval architectures in Maya and what basics techniques we do and what basics options and models and tools and we use to create these models as we go along. Now, when we do the modeling, we have to start with thinking that whether we are doing a low poly game design model or a high poly movie render or an object render. So since it's very not clear that how should we proceed, so what I will be using, I will be using a mid poly approach that the basic things will be modeled and then some of the structures will be ignored and assume that they would be used through textures. So for example, if I take this model, all these planks and everything we will model them. We are going in the low poly model and this was supposed to be just a object far away. We just use textures primarily for these inner planks. Okay. But since we're doing mid poly, we will be using certain textures or we will be modeling these things. However, these bricks, this is something we will not model. We just create a simple pin and then we use textures and bump maps to create that brick effect. Okay. Similarly, for the door as well, the shot is supposed to be near. We are supposed to show the door opening, then the model can go and we can add more details. But for now, we're just going to assume that it's a simple door. We'll try to add a basic detail to it, not absolutely fine-grained detail. So that's what basically a mid-range means. Similarly for the windows as well, the windows will be there, but they won't be like absolutely fine-grained detail. Assumingly, we are using a wider short angles within our scene, and then we just show this object. So basically, we're going to talk about various different models, how we're going to, and this is just one thing. After that, we're going to take another model approach, and then we'll try to model something more simpler and more complexer as we go along. So for example, in this case, same approach, simple model, we'll just try to see how we do that. Then maybe some other models I have to lay down in terms of interior. We will try to model this out in terms of detail, how we can add this kind of exotic look inside our any modeling effects. So from exterior modeling, using this medieval exterior model designs, example this one, all these designs are there. We're not going to model every one of them, the disclaimer. Few of them, as long as we can understand the course. Okay, so I will be modeling this one as well. I will try to model this one quickly because it has that nice aesthetics to it. In this case, again, because it's supposed to be a mid poly, so I have in mind that we will use these bricks. We will have this brick structure to be modeled, but these bricks structure will be just used by textures. So this brick structure, we can model it, but I will assume that we can just use it by textures appropriately. So, but in this case, just to keep a coherence with it, these bricks would be, we would try to add this texture to it in terms of model. We will try to have hardcore segment to it. These bricks will be just texture based. So this will be just simple. Similarly, the floor will be simple. We just use a texture with it. These marks, you can see these grains, these are all just textures. And we don't have to go and do that detailed modeling. The basic model of these things, we can do that. And then similarly, we'll complete that. So in this course, we will be try to model various different architectural objects. We will try to go through this way as well. Once we understand the basic techniques of how we organize layout and create various different structures, we can go with that. The beauty is that I will try to make sure that I let you know how to create assets. So for example, the reason we took these images from the internet, that look at these pillars and this whole boundary. So we can create this as a single asset. Then once we have that asset, we can easily duplicate these assets not only in one project, but in multiple different projects. So the houses, the huts, we will basically be using same, see this is the same area. Assumingly this entire setup is for same single village. We will try to create this as an assets so that we can later reorganize them in different projects. So for example, these the outer boundaries are again used in the same scenarios. In this one, the border is used in the same scenarios. Flooring is used in the same scenarios. Okay, so have it in a way that we can reuse our models in a different scenarios. That's what the idea would be, and then we can customize it to our own extent. Similarly, in this case, again, you would see that the basics model and the structure is similar. So if we have this kind of hut modeled at one point, we can reuse it at another point. We would basically be creating assets. So one way of doing the asset is that we create a single wall and we save it, and then we use the wall to create a different designs multiple times. We have one this wall structure, second this wall structure. We can have this one single wall structure, and then we can use it. If you don't want the door, we just remove the door, and then we have the entire model very easily done. We can have a brick wall structure as a separate asset. We can have a floor as a separate asset. So the idea here is basically that we create these things in a way that we can define an assets, and then we can just combine multiple assets to create more complex looking structures with that. Okay. So this is around hopefully 2 hours of exterior modeling as much as we can do. I will try to do a simple to advanced concept as much as we can. Okay, within 2 hours, as many as models exterior we can cover. Then the next 2 hours, we're going to go and talk more about this interior. Okay, so in this interior, we're going to talk about how we model this entire exotic inner area of basically these architectural models. Okay, in this case, again, as you can see, this is absolutely fine detail, very high level model. So we don't want to get overwhelmed with it. We don't want to get lost inside it, and we don't want to spend hours and hours modeling it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create small assets first, and then we're going to build our scene accordingly. Okay, the best way again we do is we start with these pillars. We create a single pillar, we create a single arch, and this becomes our the basic thing. And duplicate. We create these door setups or these lamps separately, and they can take a lot of time. Each individual object having so much amount of detail can take up a huge amount of time. So we need to be very specific as how much time we need to spend on an object on a single room that needs to be modeled. So for example, these fine details are to be modeled, it would take like enough of time. Okay, but as we can see this in this particular scene example, these are actually physical entities, meaning they have been modeled. They can take a lot of time. We need to be very careful with that, that we don't want to spend whole month just modeling a one single room of a scene which might not have that much importance, might not have that much occurrence at all. Okay, so we try to break it down into a simple form. We try to use as that's why I said we use a middle layer, middle poly approach, in which we'll try to model as much as we can, but we'll not try to put absolute fine grained details into our scene, so that we don't spend too much time modeling every single thing. The basic idea is understanding how we create things. So if I need to create this kind of a complex room environment, what are the basic approaches that I should take to do that? Instead of going and just saying, okay, how do I create this loop and then her edge and this loop and this edge and this? So I spend 1 hour just creating this one thing and didn't understand that, okay, still just have one and the room is still empty. Okay, so that's one thing that we will try not to do. Try to make it simple and understand that how we build up an entire scene. The logic is basically that using basic assets, create a simple assets, duplicates these assets, and build up an entire scene. And once we have an entire scene, basically now it becomes your modeling skill. How much fine-grained detail you want, and just keep on adding small and small and small components as you go along to make the scene more finer detail. And if you want your scene simple, we can forward to that as well. Okay, so this is what basically we're going to be covering throughout this particular course. So I hope you would understand, you would follow. The basic idea again would be that I will break it down into small videos. So this won't be a just one mega complete videos. So I said I chose these small models here. Okay, so the idea is that this would be simple. So if we can make it in very quickly and very simply, we can have different videos and we can work with that. So in one video, I will try to model this. In one video, I will try to model this. In another video, we will try to combine the assets to create something like this. And then we will try to combine another assets to create like this. So we'll just combine, mix and match and spend 2 hours approximately on this. So I might just go a little bit fast, but the idea for you is that you follow along. So I will break it down into small components in terms of creating assets. So the video, my idea is that not to make a big 1 hour video. I will break it down into small parts like 8 to 10 minutes. Let's see how it goes. So I will try to model each section separately in a separate videos and have them in assets, and then we just bring those all assets together in one file later on in the final versions. Okay, so follow along, create small assets with me, watch, pause, do the task, pause, do the task, pause, do the task. That's how basically these online courses work. Don't try to binge watch the entire series at once and then assume that you understood everything. It never works with that. If you want to truly master this thing, the best approach is watch 5 minutes. Usually that's my best cutoff, 4 to 5 minutes. Pause it, go and do the same thing. Then if you understand it, if you did it, excellent. If you didn't understand it, if you are not able to do it, go back to the video, reverse it, and rewatch what they did, and then do it. Then next 5 minutes, if you find that they're doing too much, let's just pause it at 2 minutes. Okay, or even 1 minute pause is also fine. So you watch it for 1 minute, pause it, do the same thing. Watch it for 1 minute, pause it, do the same thing. If you follow along it that way, it might be much easier to understand what's going on and what you are trying to do, rather than watching the whole series as a 1 hour video and then saying, okay, I can do that easily. Okay, so if you follow along, you understand 5 minutes is okay, maximum 5 minutes. That should be the limit. You should not watch a video more than that. 5 minutes. If you watch it, pause it, do it. If you find it's too difficult, break it down into smaller parts. Okay, so let's begin. Let's get on with it. Let's start learning how to do these beautiful models in Maya. Okay, see you in next video.